Watch me bend the rules so spectacularly, you're going to be afraid they'll break. Hi, welcome, come on in. My name is Aoife and today I'm taking you through my TBR for the Irish Readathon this March. The Irish Readathon runs every year throughout the whole month of March and it is hosted by Aoife from Words of Clover and Leanne from Leanne Rose this year. This is one of my favourite readathons to take part, mainly because I am an Irish person, but also because I'm an Irish person who doesn't live in Ireland at the moment. It's such a nice way for me to connect with home without having to necessarily go to extremes. It's just reading books that are set in Ireland by Irish authors, deal with Irish things, something that I'm so familiar with from having grown up around it that there's just no escaping it. As always, there are 5 main prompts in this readathon. There's also 2 bonus prompts, and I'm going to try and fit in a different book for every single one of those. The first prompt is to read a book of Irish non-fiction. And I had a couple of thoughts for this one. There was a couple hanging around my TBR, such as Did You Hear Mammy Died by Seamus O'Reilly, which I read last year and absolutely loved it, but would love to go back and read it again. But one that absolutely stood out to me was A State of Emergency by Ireland's boyfriend, Richard Chambers. Richard is a broadcast journalist with Virgin Media, one of our big broadcasters back in Ireland. And throughout the pandemic, he has sat down and put this book together of his experiences of reporting on it from the front lines, things that had developed and happened over the 2 years from March 2020. I haven't seen a whole lot of reviews about this, but I am very hopeful that this is going to bring a kind of a whole new light on what living through the pandemic was like in Ireland, when it's something that I wasn't actually accessing firsthand, but was only hearing about through Twitter or through my family's updates or friends updating me. So I'm really excited to see what this one is like. But also, I know that it's going to be a little bit hard-hitting and it's probably not going to be the easiest read of all time. The next prompt is to read an Irish children's book, and for this one you can read a children's book, a YA book, something that's middle grade, and I did again have a couple of suggestions for this on my own TBR. I had The Hiring Fair by Eilish O'Hara, which is set in Donegal. I had Under the Hawthorn Tree, which is set in the time of the famine, but I went for Hanny and Ishu's Guide to Not Dating by Adiba Jagirdar. This is Adiba's second book, and I read The Henna Wars last year as part of the Irish Readathon again. It was the group book last year, and I absolutely fell in love with it. This one is, as the title can imagine, fake dating. Hanny comes out as bisexual to her group of friends in school, and they start to kind of turn against her, make her seem like she's just faking it, like she's just doing it for attention. But she meets Ishu, and the two of them decide to fake date each other just to kind of see how it goes and prove everybody wrong. But, of course, real feelings start to come true. The next prompt is to read a book that is set in the 1920s or was written in the 1920s. This is to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the creation of the Irish Free State, which was the precursor to the today Republic of Ireland. I'm bending the rules here spectacularly because this book isn't written in the 1920s and it's not set in the 1920s, but it's set in 1918 during the Spanish flu pandemic, and there might be some instances that come in through from the 1920s. It is The Pull of the Stars by Emma Donahue. This is going to be my third of Emma's books. I have read Room and I have read The Wonder, and I loved both of them. I especially loved the historical influence from The Wonder, so that's definitely something that's going to pop up again here. Like Hanny and Ishu, this has a sapphic vibe to it, and I am very excited to see how that's going to go. But also, like A State of Emergency, this book is set during a pandemic. It's set during the flu pandemic, and it is mainly taking place in a maternity ward in one of Dublin's hospitals. So I have got a feeling that this is going to be a bit of a kick to the gut as well sometimes. The next prompt is to read a book that one of the hosts has already read. So I'm going to go with one of Leanne's favourite books from 2021 and one that I've heard about constantly. It's Don't Touch My Hair by Emma Dabiri. Emma is a black woman who lives in Ireland, and this book is, as I believe, a kind of a recount of what life is like for her as a black woman living in Ireland. Recounts of the racism that she has had to deal with the prejudice that has come against her. I know that Leanne absolutely adored this book, and I'm really hopeful that I'm going to get the same enjoyment out of it. The next prompt is to read a book that is set in Northern Ireland, and I didn't have a whole lot of options on this one, unfortunately, but I did have Milkman by Anna Burns. Anna is also from Northern Ireland, so that kind of takes off the prompt 2 ways. This book is set in an unnamed city in Northern Ireland, and you are following an unnamed girl who is followed and approached by a kind of a stalker called the Milkman, who just makes life really difficult for her, but also really zones in on her. And I have a feeling it's a little bit of a commentary about predatory relationships and when things aren't what they seem on the outside. That's pretty much all I know about this book. I'm going to try and go into it as blind as possible and see how I get on with it. Those are the 5 main prompts, and I have also got 2 books in mind for the 2 bonus prompts. The first one is to read the group book, which is Boys Don't Cry by Fiona Scarlett. This book is set in Dublin. It's quite a short book. The audiobook on Scribd is only about 4 hours long, and the physical book itself is about 250 pages, so it is definitely one that I'm going to speed through. It follows a young boy called Joe who is living in a council flat in Dublin and really wants to escape the kind of cycle that his family has gotten into, and he absolutely dreams of finding another life for himself, but things start to become more difficult when his father falls ill. The other bonus prompt is to read a green book, and that can be a book that has all green or just some green on the cover. And for this one, I have chosen Aisling and the City by Sarah Breen and Emer McLysaght. This is the 4th book in the Aisling series, and it's the penultimate book in the Aisling series, so it's a kind of almost goodbye to one of my favourite characters in books. Aisling has recently gone through a breakup and decides to kind of shake her life up and head for New York City. She's given a kind of assignment to go and start work for a PR firm that's in New York City. And I know so many people who have loved this book already, and I cannot wait to catch up with what Aisling's getting up to. Those are my picks for my TBR for the Irish Readathon this March. Are you going to be taking part in the Readathon, and what are you going to be reading for it? Don't forget to like and subscribe because I have new videos up every week. Now, get on out of here.